Hey everybody,
Hi,
and
everybody.
welcome to Business TV. Here today with Phill Holdsworth from AurumGold, basically financial education in the workplace. And Phill will be pretty much taking us through how they help businesses and individuals really understand spending habits and money usage, if you like. Is usage a good word for that? Yeah, money
Usage.
usage.
Yeah, habits.
Habits is a
Yeah.
good word. Yeah. So go on then, tell us more about people's habits, because I've got a wife who I'd like to send your way to break a few habits.
I've got a
Yeah.
wife that thinks her credit card limit's a target.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
right.
Oh, wow.
How do I deal with that one?
It's a bit like the
Yeah.
speed limits, isn't it? That's the target to get to.
Yeah. Bloody hell.
It's interesting. We all have habits, and in any aspect of life. But when you come to money, again, we all have habits around money, and oftentimes we don't even realise that we've got these habits because they're habits in our unconscious mind. What we've developed from, year dot growing up and observing others operate with their finances, like our parents and others, and just taking on board what is deemed acceptable by society, and yet never questioning, is it right for me?
Yeah.
And so our role really is to help people unpick those habits and attitudes around money, so that we can identify those things that are actually preventing us from achieving our financial goals for the future, our aspirations, but at the same time create a much more stress-free lifestyle when we're dealing with our finances.
And I think so much money in our wage, if you like, is wasted or can be wasted. And unless we are analysing it, we don't know that it's being wasted. I remember having a conversation with you a few months ago with regards to shopping. And daft things, don't go shopping when you're hungry, because you will buy things that you don't need or want because they look appealing.
Yeah.
As opposed to going when you're going for what you need.
Yeah.
Maggie Thatcher said that. Maggie Thatcher said top tips to good housekeeping was basically don't shop when you're hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's we don't think about these things at all, because nobody's ever taught to us about them. We certainly haven't been spoken to about these things at school, generally speaking. But even the psychology behind the way that supermarkets are laid out, they're very crafty in the way that they want to get you to buy into their deals, or buy certain product ranges. All the expensive ones are just at the right height.
Yeah.
And all the cheaper ones are elsewhere, not in the sort of eye line. Or if they want to promote products and offers at the end of aisles or by the cashiers, so there's a lot of psychology that goes into manipulating our spending habits. And if we're not aware of these, very often we find ourselves drawn in.
And the deals tend to be things that you don't really need. It'll be the jumbo size of biscuits that you really don't need, but it looks a good value.
I'll tell you another one is when somebody comes to you and say, I got a right bargain on this. I intended to go out and buy X, Y, Z, and I've got two for the price of one, or no, two for so much off. And I've saved money. And I say to them, no, you haven't saved money. You've spent more money.
You've definitely been talking to my wife. As the shopping bags come home and said, I've saved you 300 quid, but you've spent 5.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? Because talking about the supermarkets and that, me and Heather, we budget our food shop, and we cook everything from scratch. Well, I cook everything from scratch, and we don't get any ready-made jars of sauces or anything like that. I make them all myself. And it, first of all, it's cheaper. Second of all, it's better for you because there's no nonsense in it. And basically, when we go through the tills and I see people with the shopping trolleys, especially now this time of year, Christmas coming, the shopping trolleys are amassed with just mounds of stuff,
Yeah.
I wonder how much of that actually gets thrown away.
It's interesting. I do wonder sometimes when I look at people's shopping, especially around times like Christmas time. You can see people wanting to sort of somehow relive earlier memories, you know, how Christmas used to be, or you know, I want it to be really special or magical, or and so they're doing everything, but they to actually recreate that, but they spend even more money. And I think in there you could get lots of wastage because it's trying to do something you can't recreate. It's really understanding ourselves now and what's right for us now. And the other thing about, you mentioned the word budget. It's interesting that less than 50% of the working population of the UK have any kind of plan relating to their money.
Wow.
Starting to look at this, we started to see one of the obstacles, it won't be the only one, is fear. It's a lack of confidence in managing our own finances. And so therefore, why would you visit something that you're fearful about? So we decided we needed to rewrite the narrative around money. And others have done this, I know. They call it spending plan, because I'm in control, I'm in the driving seat, I determine how money is going to work for me and how I'm going to spend it. And I might not spend it now, I might spend it in a month's time or a year's time. You know, that's called savings. But it's still, I'm intentionally going to spend it at some point in time. So I'm in charge of my money and I determine where it goes. But it's interesting how people view money and the power that they project onto money. Like money's going to give me freedom, or biggest is happiness. And the more money people try to get, the less happy they feel. So it's almost like I need to keep going. So whatever they say to you, it's never enough, because it won't give them happiness, it won't give them freedom, it won't give them power, because it's an inanimate object.
Yeah. Because the thing is, we're trying to get here from you, Phil, is that you don't. It's not financial planning that you're doing, is it? It is. No. It is about when we talk about well-being, but it's all about the habits of: are you checking your bank account?
Yeah.
Do you know where your money's going? You know, I went through a stage about 12 months ago where I didn't look at the bank account, never did. You know, it always had money in it, it didn't matter, kind of thing. But then I thought, I think it was after conversations with yourself, I thought, well, let me just have a look and see where that money's going. And the amount of subscriptions I was paying for that either didn't need or didn't utilize was amazing. You know, the Audible subscription at £7.99 a month. You know, okay, I get a free book. Well, I don't listen to a book a month.
Yeah.
So why don't I just buy a book when I want it, if I want it to be on Audible?
Yeah. That's true.
Rather than just having a subscription month in, month out.
Yeah.
It's amazing you say that, because my missus buys books on Amazon on a Kindle and stuff for 99p.
Yeah.
You could get 8 books for that subscription.
Yeah.
They won't be read to you though.
I tend to read books, but then you've got to understand, some people are Audible learners, you know, some people are visual, so it's whatever's right for them. But you're right. I mean, the early part of any new year is filled with people taking out like gym memberships.
Oh yeah.
Good intentions, and yet later in the year, you say, how many times have you used your membership? Very little. And so it's been money spent on something that they're actually not getting value from it. I tell you, the key for me with regards to anything to do with money is, first of all, understanding ourselves, understanding our own beliefs, our own values, what's important to us, identifying those sort of disempowering beliefs that, like, for example, somebody saying, I'm bad with money. So therefore, if they've got money, they feel guilty or feel ashamed. Or somebody who believes that it's right to put a smile on other people's faces, but have a very poor self-image. So therefore, they would spend money on other people, but wouldn't spend it on themselves. Or somebody who goes into a department store and is a compulsive purchaser, you know, and yet they're buying things they don't need. You know, you think of Imelda Marcos. How many pairs of shoes did she have?
Three less pairs than my wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mrs. B's getting some stick today. I do apologise.
Yeah. But it's being able to identify those habits that are actually either good for us or they're tripping us up. And I had a client once who said to me, I go out with friends, I earn the most in all my friends, yet they have money and I have debt. And so we started to unpack it. And it was in relation to her attitude towards money. First of all, she always wanted to be the one who picked up the tab. So naturally, everybody else is keeping their money. She's spending all hers.
Yeah.
Secondly, she was an impulsive buyer. And it all stemmed right back to her childhood and a difficult background, not for her personally, but as a family, financially, not having much at all. And so therefore, if you see it, I want it now, because I said to her, what if you walk past it and gave it a week? And if you still felt the same, go back and see if it's there. She goes, yeah, but it might not be there. And I said, well, what difference to your life would that make if it wasn't there? And all of a sudden she said, well, it wouldn't really.
No.
You know, and it's helping people sort of realize those things. The other thing is we're talking about relationships, how differently we see money between us as like a couple, in a sense, and how often that money becomes a conflict.
Yeah.
1 in 4 marriages break down because of a financial conflict, because we're different. Why can't you be more like me? Well, I can't, because I'm not you. I'm me. I'm different. But if we understand each other, then actually we're going to work as a team. We can sit down and write our spending plans. We're on the same page because we understand the values that each other holds. And therefore we can have a much more successful relationship and a financial future.
And that's where financial well-being comes into it. You know, you've got to understand it. Right. Yeah. I was looking before you came on, Phill. I was doing some research on the internet and looking at a lot of put financial well-being into the internet, and loads of pages come up, lots and lots of companies. But when you dig deep into those, they're not necessarily about financial well-being. They are financial planners. They're thinking about the future. What you're telling us, we should still be thinking about now, because now is happening right now.
Yeah, it's understanding, like, for example, you've got financial planners and financial advisors. Financial advisors will look at, for example, I want to update my pension scheme. I've got a couple of pensions. Are they right? Do I need to change anything? I'll sit down with a financial advisor. They'll look at specific areas and specialisms. Financial planners will look at, what do you want your future to look like? Yeah. So they'll do a big picture plan towards your future. Whereas I, as a money coach, are looking at the here and now. You know, it's like any journey you start on. If you want to get somewhere, you need to know where you're starting from in order to know where to go to get to where you want to be. And so if you don't know where you're at now, then it's like you can be just drifting through life. And part of that is understanding what's influenced me from before. What am I carrying that might actually impinge me achieving my aspirations?
Yeah. But also, you've got the fact that once you've done your bit, once you've understood what you've got, you can then talk to the planner.
Exactly.
You can plan for the future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And there's a lot more being done and talked about today with financial planners and advisors about the need to collaborate with people like myself, because they don't have the time nor the expertise to deal with the aspects I deal with. And so there's much more emphasis being brought on working with people who will work more in the area of, I suppose, money psychology.
Yeah,
because it's creating an holistic service for their clients.
I like that. I like money psychology. I like that saying, because it is really a psychology, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it's, you know, it's nothing airy fairy about it at all. It's real. You know, when you get people like Paul Getty, no longer with us, but looking at his behaviour with money, richest man in the world, becomes a recluse. And if you believe what the movie basically portrayed of him, one checking his stocks and shares, checking his finances every single day, because he was afraid of losing it.
Yeah.
And when his grandson was kidnapped and he refused to pay the ransom, it was because he couldn't see a return on, and you're thinking, well, that's cruel, because he's talking about his son, but you've got to understand the mindset of a guy who's afraid of losing it all. But the minute his reputation was being attacked, and that is when his daughter-in-law said, I'm going to go to the newspaper, he thought, hang on, I can see value in that. Therefore, he paid the ransom.
But it was going to affect his stocks and shares, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
The financial incentive was there.
And he used it as an excuse that he didn't have any liquid assets. They were all tied up.
Yeah. But do you know what we do is we then judge people like that. Say, oh, selfish or mean or what have you. But actually, all of us could fall into categories like that. It's relative, isn't it, to our circumstances and how we behave with it. Absolutely. If we're very studious with money, we can also, the shadow side, be quite stingy.
Yeah.
So it's not judging people. It's seeing the good aspects, but helping them unpack the shadow side that actually holds them back.
Yeah.
So when you work with a business, then what kind of thing do you do?
Well, with businesses, what we do is we run, at the moment it's been all online, so we run a 9-week program taking them through a lot of this, raising self-awareness through to the practical sort of management of our finances. And it's a 9-week program, an hour per week, with things that they do in relation to their own finances. Believe it or not, I'm a money coach that won't ask you about your money. Yeah. I know it's a difficult subject for people to talk about, and so we want to maintain the integrity and the confidentiality for an individual, so they feel comfortable and being able to take on board what we're teaching them, in a sense.
Yeah.
We also add to that the one-to-one coaching if they need it. So some people do actually say, look, you've picked on something there that's affected my life. Can I have a chat with you? And then we do that in a confidential manner on a one-to-one coaching basis. We're also developing, for those people who can't attend something at a set time on a set day each week, an online flexible learning community where there is a series of videos, Gareth, and and also there'll be downloadable resources that people can access to apply to their own circumstances. In addition to that, there will be some live Q&A sessions that they will be able to attend, where they can learn from others, share experiences, and ask the expert. So we're trying to create an environment where people can learn about something about themselves in a confidential, non-judgmental environment, very empathetic, but also at the same time have access to go deeper if they want to. So that's what we do with businesses.
Yeah, but this would be brilliant for people who either can't take time out to do a half-day, 2-day course kind of thing, or won't take that, or feel very uncomfortable being in a room of people talking about it. So if they can do it at their own time, at their own pace, they'll get the same level of learning, but in a format that works for them, that they don't feel uncomfortable with. Because money is a really uncomfortable subject.
It really is.
Do you know, people are more willing to talk about their sex lives than their finances?
And they lie about both.
Yeah, exactly.
Dear me.
But it's interesting because it's like mental health. The number of times people say to me, oh, there's an awful lot happening on mental health because we're all talking about it. And I said, well, it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to actually see things at grassroots making a real difference. And I would say even on mental health, we've still got a long way to go. But interestingly, when people worry about money, it causes mental health problems. Anxiety disorders are on the increase. And likewise, if somebody is suffering mental health issues, it can also create financial difficulties as well, because they're not able to rationalize managing their finances.
No, you're right, because the thing is, if I have a sleepless night, it's usually about money. Because it's the thing that does keep you awake. It is the thing that will bother you at night.
Yeah.
If you got something big to pay for or something like that, and you think, oh Christ, how am I going to get the money for that?
Yeah.
You know, it tends to keep you awake. And you know, at the end of the day, there are people out there who've got tons of money and make it like that, and there are other people who have to work their asses off.
Yeah.
You know, I unfortunately fall into the have to work my ass off.
I think, well, most of us are. But it's interesting, isn't it? Even people with money worry about it. I have a friend who self-made millionaire or multimillionaire, and he does worry about his finances. And you know, why is that? And so you'd think that the more money I've got, the more sort of relaxed, confident, peace of mind I'll have, and that's not always the case.
But at the end of the day, it is about perspective as well, though, isn't it? Because like if I lost a fiver, for example, I would be like, oh God, I can't believe I've lost a fiver. But people who are living on the breadline and you know that would be the end of the world for them. And if David Beckham lost a fiver, it would be like me losing 5p.
That could be the difference of them putting the £5 in the meter for the gas this week.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, definitely.
Well, just look at the fuel increase now. I mean, it cost me the other day, I think it was £3.50 extra to fill my car.
Yeah.
And I noticed that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, bloody hell, you know, I felt that because basically I had to do it twice, so it was £7 because I went out to Wales. But it was £7 difference, and I was like, yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
But there are people that don't care.
As a nation, we hold a third of the whole of Europe's credit card debt just in our nation alone.
Wow.
And it's probably even growing on that. And the other thing as well is we've got a massive in-work poverty population. And so you can imagine the rising costs of utility bills like gas or fuel, and all goods are going to start going up because of the transport issues.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to impact an awful lot of people, and they can be in work, they can be doing several jobs, trying to make ends meet, and just feel like everything seems to be against them. But it is about helping and supporting them, as well as people who have got money who don't really need to worry about it, but do worry about it. It's the whole spectrum.
It is. So thinking about yourself, Phil, if we could go back X number of years to your younger self, what kind of advice would you give yourself now? Obviously, we're a bit older, a bit more along in the tooth.
Yeah.
What would you go back and say, Phil, you've got to do that?
Things like pension schemes, start them sooner. Soon as you get into work, don't be afraid to consider those. So as a younger me, that's the advice I would give. Things like that. Make sure you've got pension in place, because the longer you've got it, the bigger that will grow, and the more that you'll have when at that point when you decide to retire. It may be you'll be able to retire a bit earlier, but that's entirely up to the individuals. That's what I would say. I would also encourage people to consider ways in which they can save, and there are lots of different avenues to go down. Whether it's investing in the market, but that's dependent on the level of risk people are happy with, to saving schemes, just leaving the money in the bank. Even a younger me, I would say, don't even go there, because the return at the moment is so little. In fact, it's devaluing the money, because the rate of inflation is greater than the rate of the interest rates. And
there's lots of these apps around now where you can roll up your pence, can't you? You're going to spend 99 pence on some bananas.
Yeah.
You can roll up the penny to £1, and it'll just go into a savings pot. And I've got one of those, and it goes into an ISA, stocks and shares. And I'm amazed how well that's doing at the moment.
Yeah.
It's still got loads in it, but it doesn't have to have, because I'm not missing the pennies.
Yeah. A good one on the market is one called Moneybox.
That's what I'm with. That's what I'm with.
That's the one you're with.
That's
Brilliant.
With,
And because the other thing as well is, if you've never invested in the stock market, then don't worry. That enables you to engage as a novice in something that allows you to save and probably get a better return. Everything, there's always a risk at the end of the day, but oftentimes the risks are so small, and much of what we do is covered by the Financial Services Compensation Scheme.
Right.
Banks, you're covered up to £85,000 in that one bank.
But with something like Moneybox, you're risking pence a transaction, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not risking hundreds of pounds a transaction. You're risking pence.
Yeah.
And every week I think my average weekly amount that goes in is about £4.
Yeah.
It's not as though it's a lot of money, but when you think £4 over 52 weeks, that's £200 that year.
Yeah.
With a return of probably in the region of about 8 to 10% on the market at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's another £20, and then you compound that up year on year on year.
Yeah.
For the sake of saving a few pence every week. It soon adds up.
I'll tell you another good tool on the market as well that I've come across, and there's several of these, so I'd recommend people sort of investigate them. But it's a kind of money management tool called Emma. It's a tool you can use as a setting your spending plan, and it will link with your bank account, so it'll identify where all your expenditure goes. Oh, you've got a utility bill there. Would you like me to see if I can get you a cheaper one? And so it will, and if you say yes, it'll search for cheaper options that matches what you have. So it'll ask you a series of questions. Then you'll be given a choice, and if you like what you see, you can say, I want to go to that one, and it'll do the switch for you.
How intuitive.
That's bloody clever.
How intuitive that is.
So, and likewise with banks, you've got things like Atom or Monza or Starling, who do exactly the same as you would get in a banking hall, and the same services, more extensive, and again allows you to set like goals and budgets and things like this. So they are becoming a lot more intuitive these days. Many of the tools out there.
I love that. Emma. That sounds like a great thing. So we've done what you'd tell your younger self.
Yeah.
Moving forward, you've obviously got you'll be doing your planning now for 2022. You'll be gone through your business plans. What do you want to have achieved by the end of 2022 as regard to AurumGold?
I'd certainly like to put AurumGold on the map as an organisation that really makes a difference. Going back to that term, money psychology, really makes a difference in people's lives around the area of money psychology. The light bulb moments that you get when people suddenly realise what they've been doing and how they can change and improve things is incredible. So a greater impact there. I'd like to have established, obviously, what I'd said earlier in terms of how we're currently operating and how we want to operate. But I'd like to also give back, and one of the things I'm looking to is either interns or apprentices. So in 2022, I've had a work experience student for a month, and I would like to take that further and sort of begin giving back through the next generation, really. Wow. And I'd like our company to play a part in that.
Is the Kickstart scheme still on, where the government will pay for them?
Will do, but do you know, it's interesting. I worked in the area of training schemes, employment schemes years and years ago. And you get quite a variety of approaches from companies. Some companies see it as cheap labour, and I hope I'm not being harsh on because things do change. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's still companies out there who operate that way. I'm very much more about making a difference in their lives. Yeah, so it's not just working for me; it's making a difference for them. So they're the next generation where I can look back and say I've left a positive legacy, in this life, in that life, in the other life.
Yeah.
And that's what's important to me. So
absolutely brilliant. So we've slightly touched on this earlier when you mentioned Emma, but one of the things we ask is are there any tools or web programs or apps that you would really recommend other businesses and other business users that work for you?
Well, things like accounting packages, there's lots of them out there, and I've looked at many of them, and some of them are so big, they've got so many features about them that you find you perhaps, as a small business like ours, we probably wouldn't use, certainly till a long way down the track. So, and I'm also one to look at, well, what's available out there that is either free or low cost. I use Free Agent, and most of the banks, high street banks, provide that as a free service for business banking. So I have a business bank account, and I get Free Agent as as a complimentary accounting package, and it's very, very good. It's quite intuitive, easy to use. And it's easy for me to use with my accountant as well, because my accountant can access the relevant parts and do my books at the end of the year, do my VAT return. I can do my own VAT returns. That's absolutely no problem.
Wow.
So I find that really good. I also use a system called Capsule for my contacts and managing my contacts. But I'm aware of people wanting to embed certain systems so that it's more seamless in your communications. Capsule offers that to a fair extent and actually connects with Free Agent. So those two work very well together. So
you found one that synergies with the others?
Yeah. I'm trying, trying my best. I don't like the administration side at the best of times. And I just like getting on and doing the job itself. But when you run your own business, you've got to do that side as well. So if I can find things that are seamless and connect together and make life a lot easier, then it's a win-win for me.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes so much. It makes your life easier.
Yeah, it does. So yeah.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Phill. That's it. That's the show over. It's amazing how quick it goes by. And thank you for talking to us about what you do and how you help others.
Well, thank you very much.
It's been really good chat. I've actually been today quite pleased because I've been able to keep up with the conversation, whereas with previous guests I've been a little bit over my head. So thank you very much for making it simple for Luddites like me. And next week we have got Jordan Allmark on, who will be talking to us about brand identity, etc. So if you want to know more about brand identity and want to hear what Jordan has to say, then tune in again next week. And if you'd like to be on Business TV talking about your business, then just get in touch, come along to our networking, 1 hour networking on Wednesdays, and interactive networking at the end of the month, and Netopia every Friday morning. And we look forward to seeing you. All right then.
Brilliant. Thanks, Phill.
See you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.